Now, following the Republicans' midterm disaster, Mitch McConnell is now trying to offer up a fake olive branch to the Democrats. Oh, this is fun. Now, he recently went to an op-ed and had it published in Fox News that basically had this headline. Oh, you're going to love this, right? That headline is, "Will Dems work with us or simply put partisan politics ahead of the country?" Now, if you're not aware of why this is so incredibly hypocritical, I'm going to get to that point at the near the end of the segment. So I'm going to explain that. But first, of course, I'm going to read some excerpts and we're going to kind of break it down. And I'm going to show you why this is absolutely hypocritical and ridiculous. Now, first he writes, "I have good news." Oh, everybody clutch your wallet. Mitch McConnell has good news. He said, "Reports of the death of bipartisanship in Washington have been wildly exaggerated. And looking ahead to the coming year, there will be no shortage of opportunities to continue this impressive record of cooperation across the aisle and across the Capitol. What we can make of those opportunities will depend on our Democratic colleagues. Will they choose to go it alone and simply make political points? Or will they choose to work together and actually make a difference?" Now, I'm going to have to note here that whenever Democrats have reached across the aisle with Republicans and gotten legislation done, it's usually along the lines of deregulating the banks. That is one thing establishment Democrats and Republicans can always agree on. They can always seem to find bipartisan support for deregulating banks. The last one, of course, was the Crapo bill, or I like to call it the Crapo bill, because it's a load of crapo. Basically deregulating mid-sized banks, but in essence, deregulating larger banks as well. And a lot of Democrats, unfortunately, signed on for that. That's the kind of bipartisanship we're going to look forward to in Washington under, Mitch McConnell. Or at least this is the kind of bipartisanship he hopes for and what we've already seen from Democrats. So I'm already not looking forward to this. I'm also not looking forward to it because Nancy Pelosi, who may be the next Speaker of the House, said, yes, let's do bipartisanship. I'm going to open this up for a bipartisan marketplace of ideas, which again, basically to me means deregulating banks. Because, we got to deregulate the banks because those are our donors. Those are the people who write us gigantic campaign checks, and they do it for both parties. So, not only that, but let's continue here, right? He says, after years of rhetoric, it's hardly news that some are more interested in fanning the flames of division than reaching across the aisle. This is coming from Mitch McConnell, who for years did nothing else other than fan the flames of division. Not once did Republicans ever decide that they were going to reach across the aisle. It's always, I don't know why, but it always seems to be incumbent upon Democrats to reach across the aisle. When what happens most of the time is Republicans, when they get a majority, when they get into power, they will browbeat you and they will run roughshod all over you. They'll take a steamroller and use their power basically to crush you into the ground. And yet, when they get into the minority, after the American people had a stern rebuke for Republican rule, they had their chance. They did nothing but help rich people and corporations and Donald Trump himself. The American people said no, and here you have Democratic leaders and Republican leaders now saying, now we should do the era of bipartisanship. Bull fucking shit. That's what they're going to try to do. And it's sickening. It's disgusting. Now, let me show you why I'm so against this. Because, look, if we lived in the normal world and you had, people from two different parties getting together to have a bipartisan compromise on things, which, by the way, they could have done on immigration, they didn't. They could have done on, issues like the debt. Could have gotten together to, do some tax rate, increases on the extremely wealthy, and also cut some maybe duplicative government programs, or maybe, cut the Pentagon budget just a little bit. Instead, they've gotten together, and their bipartisanship is give more to the military and give more to corporations. So, again, that's the kind of bipartisanship that we don't want to see, but what we will see under both Pelosi and of course McConnell. And by the way, McConnell is Senate Majority Leader, so doesn't actually deal with Pelosi, but deals with Chuck Schumer, who's even weaker than Pelosi. So here we go. And now, of course, as I said before, he is the Senate Majority Leader, which means he sets the agenda in the Senate. Wonderful. But anyway, let's go to what McConnell has done, right? And for this, I go to the Washington Post's Dana Milbank. Now, he wrote a column last year who basically described McConnell as the politician who broke America. Now, how did he do that? Well, for one, he changed Senate norms to require a 60-vote supermajority on any piece of legislation of any significance. That's why we've had nothing but filibuster after filibuster, where nothing could get through the Senate. Even if it's passed by the House, never gets through the Senate. And so when Democrats, for example, had a majority, they still couldn't get anything done. A majority in both chambers, because you had that 60-vote threshold. Not only that, but you had McConnell, who tried to block a lot of judicial confirmations. You have McConnell, who spearheaded every attempt to derail campaign finance reform. Why? It's because Mitch McConnell doesn't believe in campaign finance reform. He actually thinks it's fantastic the way it is, that corporations can basically spend unlimited money in our elections. That is a McConnell thing. He absolutely is owned 100% by the donors. And he does whatever they want. And what they want is to stop us from putting any sort of limit on campaign spending. There's more. You also had Mitch McConnell. When President Obama first won his election, and this was a precursor to what he actually did, and maybe a lot of people wrongly thought it was rhetoric. But here's what he said. He said, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure Barack Obama is a one-term president. And so what did he try to do? He refused to consider any compromise, even if it meant rejecting his own ideas. So these are things that he believed in, that he even put up, that he decided he was going to filibuster because, well, Obama said he's going to, approve this. So guess what? I can't be seen agreeing with Obama. So I'm going to reject my own idea. He has done this over and over and over again. Not only that, but it was McConnell who blocked Judge Merrick Garland for about a year. A year. And of course, he had to go later on to say, well, how dare you go and try to block Judge Kavanaugh? Oh, how dare you? How dare you? Well, he was the one who blocked Merrick Garland for a year. And yet, thanks to their control of the Senate, they were able to get in their own judicial nominees. Two of them, actually. Not only that, but McConnell, he was warned about Russia's attack on the elections, but didn't do anything about it. Don't care. I don't care if anything happened. I don't care at all. So not only that, but Milbank adds, most characteristic of McConnell is his tendency to shift his views to suit current exigencies. For example, on the minimum wage, withdrawal from Iraq, earmarks, abortion, labor, and civil rights, and his adroitness at gumming up the works, forcing clerks to spend hours reading a bill allowed on the floor, opposing immigration legislation he'd encourage, asking for a vote on debt ceiling proposal, and then trying to filibuster it, urging the Obama administration to support a bipartisan debt commission, and then voting against it. Now, it's against this backdrop, of course, that McConnell decided to take this to Fox News, arguing that he believes that Democrats are more interested in fanning the flames of division than reaching across the aisle. Who's actually more interested in political points? This is projection from Mitch McConnell, who may be one of the worst people in politics today. And yes, that's even in comparison to Trump. While Trump, of course, is loud and deeply, openly racist and hostile to anyone who is against him, Mitch McConnell is the man behind the curtain. He's the man who's made a lot of what Trump does and a lot of what Trump's achieved possible. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.